On a day not many people expected Patrick Corbin to go out there, he went out there and he shoved. But more importantly, the Nationals, they've got a little bit of an issue as CJ Abrams is expected to get an MRI on his left wrist. How serious could this be?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube, and hit that subscriber button for us as well. And leave a comment, leave a like, whatever you want. I am happy with what you decide to do here on Locked On Nationals. And later on in today's show, we will be previewing the Nationals and Diamondbacks. They are tied up 1-1 in this series. Who will get the win? Good news for the Nats. You got MacKenzie Gore on the bump in today's game. We'll have that preview a little bit later on as the Nats get ready for a 1 o'clock day game on a Thursday, back-to-back day games. It's going to be a hot one out there, so the ball could be flying, which is good news for a Nationals team that needs a little extra help with their power. So we'll have that preview a little bit later on in second segment of today's show. We haven't talked about the MLB Draft too much, but the Nationals, they hold the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. So I've got a couple names to keep an eye on, and some of these names you're going to want to hear about. I can tell you this right now, the Nationals, they like high upside players. You've got a lot of high upside players right there sitting there at number 10 for this year's draft class. Some college guys, as well as some high school prepsters. We'll have that in the second segment of today's show, as it's our first look at the MLB Draft so far in 2024. But let's start off talking about yesterday's win for the Nationals, as Jesse Winker comes up big, but more importantly, Patrick Corbin came up a little bit bigger. We'll have that. But today's episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. And today's episode of the Locked On Nationals is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on. So again, thank you all for making us your first listen every single day. Let's get into it. As the Nationals, they won 3-1 in yesterday's ball game, as it was a very intriguing game, to say the least. When you have a Patrick Corbin start out there, if you're an everydayer, you know, come on. We've been through this rodeo before. We know what to expect with Patrick Corbin. It's typically like 4 1/3 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, maybe 5 earned runs, and hell, maybe even 6 earned runs. That was not the case yesterday. In fact, this was probably one of, if not the best Corbin start all season long. Patrick Corbin went 5 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, 3 hits, and 1 earned run. I'll take that any single day. And now Patrick Corbin has a sub-6 ERA. He's sitting around a 5.6 on the season so far, and I'll take that. Again, with Patrick Corbin at this point in time, you got to just kind of sit there and expect the worst, if we're just being honest. That's just the way that it is. And again, do you get excited for Patrick Corbin starts? No. You saw the crowd yesterday. There weren't that many Nationals fans there. Even on a national holiday like Juneteenth, where a lot of people were off work, you didn't show up to the ballpark. And that's not a knock on the Nationals fans, by the way. Number one, it was a scorching hot day that had no shade whatsoever, a 4 o'clock game on a Wednesday. And again, Patrick Corbin is on the bump going up against the Arizona Diamondbacks team, who has been pretty lackluster so far this season. You don't really see too many Diamondbacks fans traveling around here in D.C. So that's not on the Nationals fans for not showing up. It was a hot day, Patrick Corbin start. But today, Thursday, 1 o'clock game, MacKenzie Gore on the bump. I think Nationals fans should probably show up because, again, you have the chance to be at 500 yet again as the Nationals sit in that third wild card spot, have a half-game lead over the San Diego Padres. Today's a big one. We'll have that preview a little bit later on. But as the Nationals in yesterday's ball game, you were down 1-0, and Jesse Winker. in my opinion, one of the unsung heroes of this 2024 Nationals team, steps up, bottom of the 6th inning, a 2-run home run to make it 2-1 Nationals. And again, I think Jesse Winker has been one of just the parts of this 2024 team that has been incredible. You think last year with Jeimer Candelario in the first half of the season, when the Nationals signed him back last offseason, and if you've been listening since then, thank you, first off. Second off, you know where I'm going. I was not happy whatsoever. I was just kind of like, why are we doing this? Why are you running it back with someone who used to be a very good player, but at this point in time, didn't really show much promise? Well, I was so wrong. Candelario was a huge part of last year's first half success of this team. And now Jesse Winker is in that similar category. Now, Jesse Winker is a former All-Star, former top prospect, had probably more good seasons than Jeimer Candelario ever did before signing here in the offseason of 2023. But I was not expecting a Jesse Winker kind of renaissance year, and that is what we're getting so far. Jesse Winker is going to be one of those guys where he's kind of become a fan favorite. I love Jesse Winker. His kind of just grittiness out there every single day, playing left field, playing solid in left field, by the way, having some sneaky pop, adding a lot to this team in a clubhouse way, being a clubhouse leader, in fact, and also just being a damn good ball player. Because this is someone who has not really been up to his average performance over the last few seasons. He has been a subpar hitter. He's been a subpar defender. But now Jesse Winker, he is putting himself back on the radar, and the Nationals, they have found some gold here when it comes to Jesse Winker. Now, here's the thing with him, though. He's going to get traded. He is. And that is kind of an unfortunate thing to say when you talk about this team being in the wild card race. There is a chance that he doesn't get traded, but even then, the right thing to do is to trade him at this point. You have James Wood coming up, and you have Dylan Cruz, who's also knocking on the doorstep, which, by the way, we've got an update on him coming later on in this segment. But Jesse Winker is going to be one of those guys where it sucks to see him go. It's going to be similar to Candelario last year where Nationals fans, they loved him. We love Jesse Winker now. If you're out there, if you're listening, you probably have recognized that Jesse Winker has been a huge part of this 2024 team. And by the way, in the year that everyone talks about aura with CJ Abrams, how about the aura that Jesse Winker brings? The flowing hair, the beard, the chain, the dances, all the different things that Jesse Winker provides. He's got some aura to him. I could see a team maybe like in the division with the Philadelphia Phillies needing an extra outfielder, going after someone like Jesse Winker. Now, I hope to God he doesn't get traded inside the NL East because I like the guy. I don't want to not root for him. I want to root for him in the AL or whoever takes a stab and tries to trade for him. Because that is what the smart thing to do is at this point. And yes, you are in a postseason spot today, but still, your eyes are on the future. And unfortunately, Jesse Winker just isn't part of this future at this point. You can't really rely on that. And at this point in time, who is part of the future? Well, you've got the young pieces that I don't need to explain. You know who's part of the future, and Jesse Winker just doesn't fit that mold at this point in time. But more importantly, while Jesse Winker saved the day yesterday, there is some more important news. CJ Abrams getting an MRI on his left wrist, and he isn't really sure how he hurt it. That is a little bit concerning to me. We don't really know how serious it is. He was a late scratch right before first pitch in yesterday's ball game. I don't know what happened. I don't think anybody else knows what happens because he said he isn't even sure how he hurt it. So I hope it's nothing too serious. It doesn't sound like it's anything too serious. But again, with these kind of tricky scenarios, it never really sounds good when you don't know how you hurt it. Number one, that's a little weird. And number two, it's always a little bit concerning when it's your star shortstop, especially the way that CJ Abrams has really kind of turned around here lately. He's been killing the baseball and has been one of the main reasons as to why the Nationals sit in that third wild card spot in the National League. So CJ Abrams getting an MRI on his wrist is a little bit concerning, but I think at this time, things should be fine. Worst case scenario, maybe there's a slight IL stint. I don't know at this point, but also, I do want to talk about this. Dylan Cruz, we talked about him 2 days ago, as he got the promotion up to AAA Rochester, and him and James Wood, They sit there as teammates. James Wood had the day off yesterday. It was a scheduled day off, so no one get too concerned about that. But Dylan Crew's first AAA hit was an opposite field home run. Now, that is his only hit. He started off a little bit slow here through his first 10 at-bats, but he hit an opposite field home run. And if you're a Nationals fan, the future is looking pretty damn good. Josiah Gray also in yesterday's performance with the Harrisburg Senators, 79 pitches, went 5 innings pitched in Harrisburg, allowed 1 earned run, a few hits. He looked pretty damn good. And of course, now his next stop could be here back in the rotations. And the Nationals, they'll have some decisions to make as we've discussed that here. Maybe it's Patrick Corbin. Maybe they stretch it out with the 6-man rotation for the time being as Trevor Williams still sits on the shelf. But the Nats, I would expect them to kind of get Gray, have one more outing down in the minors just because of the way DJ Hurst has been pitching. Maybe we want to see him go through the order just one more time and see if he can do something. And then maybe put Corbin back in the rotation or back in the bullpen. And then you put Josiah Gray where Corbin should pitch. So we'll see what the Nationals decide to do. But ultimately, Josiah Gray could be knocking back on the doorsteps of Major League Baseball yet again. So speaking of knocking on the doorsteps of Major League Baseball, the Nationals, they've got the 10th overall pick in this year's draft class. And again, you've got another chance to add some premier talent to an already very loaded farm system that this Nationals team has had already. So we've got some names for you to keep an eye on. These are some guys that have been kind of inked to the Nationals, and as well as some guys that I really like, as I love the MLB draft. This is a chance to add some huge upside talent, and fortunately for the Nats, this is a pretty deep class getting back to number 10 overall in this year's draft class. But with Brad Ciolek, the new addition of the front office, someone who's kind of expected to run this draft for this Nationals team, there's going to be a little bit of a different philosophy heading into the 2024 draft. So we'll have that for you and some names to keep an eye on. But before that, let me tell you guys about some of our friends over at Tax Network USA. And guys, here on Locked On Nationals, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collections season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, the Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our also very good friends over at Policy Genius. And guys, a lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace, and it makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online, let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. And of course, guys, if you've got a family, which some people may out there, you need to make sure that they are covered. And Policy Genius helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks. And of course, if you got family out there, as a lot of you guys do, you want to make sure things are covered. And they have an award-winning agent that can even walk you through the process step by step. If you're confused by any of it, our friends at Policy Genius, they've got you covered. And Policy Genius has no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust all their guidance. And guys, get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description and get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. And now we get back into it as we preview the MLB draft, as it is on July 14th. And I have got some names for you, 4 names to keep an eye on. And if I'm willing to bet, one of these 4 guys will definitely be the Nationals pick at number 10 overall in this year's draft. So we start off with one of my number 1 guys who's kind of been linked to the Nationals the most, Shortstop slash outfielder Conor Griffin, an 18-year-old from Jackson Prep, Mississippi, one of the highest upside guys in this year's draft class. He's got a 50 grade hit tool, a 60 grade power tool, a 65 grade arm, a 70 grade in the field. And of course, I think the Nationals, this kind of fits their mold. If you think back over the last few draft class, number one, you go with Dylan Cruz last year, the slam dunk, number one overall guy outside of Paul Skeens, obviously, but he was the guy. You don't have to think about that. Move forward. Years before that, Brady House, another big upside prepster. Year after that, you have Elijah Green. The Nationals, they like taking high upside guys. They've always kind of been the best player available, and that's the way that they've always drafted. They've never cut deals with anybody. They never do that. It's just not how the Nationals run their draft class. So Conor Griffin, if he is there at number 10, there is about an 85% chance, in my opinion, that will be the Nationals pick because, again, of his upside. Scouts say that he could be a plus defender at shortstop as well as a Gold Glover in center field. He has huge upside, again, with a lot of power. He can run. And, of course, talking about Conor Griffin, I just think that this makes a lot of sense. Now, some people might be out there being like, well, a shortstop and an outfielder, we don't need that. Come on. In the MLB draft, you don't draft for need. If you have a shortstop, that usually means you're the most athletic guy on the field. In baseball, if you're a shortstop, you could probably play second base. You could probably play third base. You can probably make the transition into the outfield as well. And you're 18 years old. You've got time to develop. The Nationals, this only thing that kind of concerns me about this is, again, I would like to see a college guy here at number 10 for the Nationals because it's a quicker kind of development for them. But still, this guy has got the upside, and he has been mocked to the Nationals in a lot of different ways. So I would expect to see him maybe, just maybe, be in the conversation to be one of the Nationals' high upside guys. I don't expect the Nationals to kind of go out of the way here and cut a deal, but there are some options here, and we have one of those guys who could be kind of one of those deal cutters at number 10 overall. But Conor Griffin is a very intriguing answer for the Nationals. I would not be surprised to see him at all sitting there at number 10. And if he's sitting there at number 10, I give the Nationals about an 80% chance to take him. He fits a profile for what Mike Rizzo loves. Very high upside. Not that much downside, really, but he can move all over the infield, play shortstop, and some people even say that he could be a Gold Glover in center field. So that's an intriguing pick. And again, he can run. He's got all the different tools that you would like from a prepster coming out of Mississippi. He's got some huge upside. And again, Gatorade Player of the Year from this last year in the national class, of the country, the best high schooler in all of baseball. So that is pretty damn exciting to say the least. So he's that guy for the Nationals, but there's more. Right-handed pitcher Brody Bre from Iowa, 21 years old. The reason why I say that is because, again, it fits Mike Rizzo's role of what he looks for. This is someone who has touched 101 miles per hour with his fastball. He's got a 70 grade fastball, a 70 grade splitter, or a 70 grade slider, and a 50 grade splitter. Only 3 pitches. He's got a 40 control. And again, that's the only issue because back in 2023, he walked 61 guys in 77 innings. And this last year, he walked 49 guys in 78 in the third innings pitch, but he struck out 128 batters in that as well. He's a big athlete, played football at the University of Iowa as well, won a couple national championships back in his a couple high school championships back in the state of Iowa. So this is a big athlete that the Nationals, he throws 101. And again, right-handed pitcher, throws 100, nasty slider. That fits what Mike Rizzo wants. He's kind of one of those guys who could potentially cut a deal, but the thing with him that's a little bit scary is the control issues, the command. Now, I feel like there is some untapped potential with him, maybe add a 4th pitch in there, like a changeup even. But Brody Bre is one of those guys where I've kind of fallen in love with him because of the fact that he throws 100 and he's got some command issues. But again, he is filthy. A 70 grade fastball with a 70 grade slider. That is pretty damn filthy. One guy even said that his fastball slider combination is similar to Paul Skeens, but the thing that is way different between them is the command. And that is really what has held him back. But if he had that command, this would be a top 10 pick, no doubt about it. But at this point in time, there are some command issues, and that's kind of what holds him back. And he may not even make it to number 10, but there's also a good chance that he could still be there around the mid-20s. So we'll see what the Nationals decide to do. But Brody Bre is another one of those names where I would expect to keep an eye on. Another name, another LSU kind of bat, and this is someone that I can't pick, or that I can't really just pass on. Tommy White, third baseman, DH, first base, whatever you want to look at. He had 75 home runs across 3 seasons in college baseball, started at NC State his freshman year, the last 2 seasons being at LSU, being on that national championship team just last year with Dylan Cruz, as well as Gavin Dugas, all the different guys who are in the system now. He's one of those guys where he's not projected to go in the top 10. In fact, some people even have him going in late 20s. I could see Brad Ciolek trying to cut a deal with him at number 10 overall, saving some money and kind of doing the route that he did with the Orioles and getting someone in the second round for a little bit more money, having a prepster guy who may not really be fully committed to their college team and try to get them for more money in that second round. So that would be an intriguing pick for the Nationals. Tommy Tanks is what he's called. He would immediately come in the system, have big power, someone who could hit 40 home runs in a season, kind of compared to a Pete Alonso type, you could say. Even then, I don't think he will be a Pete Alonso. I don't think he's really as solid defensively as Alonso is over at first base. Now, Alonso isn't some stud over at first, but Tommy White, he's not going to play third base in the majors, in my opinion. I would see him more as a DH / a first baseman / maybe if you really need it, stick him in left field and kind of be a Kyle Schwarber type of player. But Tommy White is one of those guys where I just can't look past when it comes to his power, the raw power here. That's what the Nationals need. Now, you don't draft for what you need, but still, the power is intriguing. You got to keep an eye on him as, again, he kind of fits that role for what the Nationals would want at number 10 overall. So Tommy White, keep an eye on him. We've been talking about him for about a year now. So Tommy White, I'd welcome him with open arms. But again, he's kind of one of those guys you want to cut a deal on, and you don't really want to give him your full slot at number 10 overall. Last one, another intriguing prepster, 18-year-old shortstop Bryce Rayner. He's got a 55 hit tool, a 60 grade power tool, a 55 run, a 60 grade arm, and a 50 in the field. He's a left-handed hitter with some pop. And one comparison that he drew was a kind of young Corey Seager over at shortstop. So right then and there, that got my attention, as, again, he is someone who is expected to go inside that top 12, could sneak into the top 10, but again, I think he's going to be available right there at number 10 for the Nationals. He'll be 19 on draft day. He's 18 right now, obviously, from Harvard Westlake High School, who they have produced a lot of major league talent over the years. Max Fried, Jack Flaherty, all the different guys out there. So Bryce Rayner, he's one of those guys where he fits the mold for what the Nationals want. A high upside guy. He's going to take some time to develop, but ultimately a left-handed hitter, shortstop, and again, you can move him all over the diamond. You can put him over at second base. While he does have a bigger frame for second base, he could be DJ LeMahieu over there, move him over to third, and probably put him in the outfield as well. He'll do just fine. So the Nationals, those are the 4 guys to keep an eye on as of right now. As we inch closer to the MLB Draft, I'll have a lot more coverage for you right here on Locked On Nationals. So again, just to run through the list, shortstop / outfielder Conor Griffin, 18-year-old from Jackson Prep, Mississippi. That's the number 1 guy to keep an eye on. Number 2, right-handed pitcher Brody Bre from Iowa, 21 years old, 70 grade fastball, touches 101. That is kind of a guy that fits Mike Rizzo and what he likes. Tommy Tanks, Tommy White from LSU, third base / DH / first base, just a hitter, someone who's going to hit for power. And again, shortstop Bryce Rayner, 18 years old from Harvard Westlake High School, compared to Corey Seager. Those are the guys you want to keep an eye on for this MLB draft class. And again, we will have much more coverage as we get closer to the MLB draft. So now we got to preview today's game as the Nationals. They play at 1 o'clock, and it is a MacKenzie Gore day. So let's get into it. But before that, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends at Stitch Fix. And guys, you know that instant confident boost when you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what I get with Stitch Fix. And with Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget, and they do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe. this season. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Maybe you're my age, 24 years old, wanting to going out on a date or whatever it is, or maybe you're going to a family barbecue for July 4th. Stitch Fix will have you covered because my stylist always sends just right pieces and the fit is always on point. It's like they have my style, especially. And of course, I don't know how they do it, but they just get me. And if you don't love something, you just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free with our friends over at Stitch Fix. And guys, style, it makes you feel as you look. So now's the best time to get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $20 to $5 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $100 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids fixes. We get back into it as the Nationals, they get ready to face on the pesky Diamondbacks squad, the National League defending champs, World Series team last year, but they are now in the thick of the wild card race with the Nationals. But good news for the Nats, you've got MacKenzie Gore on the bump, and bad news for the Diamondbacks, they've got right-handed pitcher Ryan Nelson, who is coming off a very good start, but 2 starts ago has been rocked. His season numbers are not pretty. He's got a 1.64 whip on the season, a lot of walks, not a lot of strikeouts, a lot of hits given up, a 5.49 ERA on the season as well. This is going to be kind of one of those intriguing games where MacKenzie Gore, please keep the ball in the yard. Don't give up home runs. Don't give up any easy hits because, again, the Diamondbacks, they are one of those pesky teams. We saw Tel Marte take one deep off the Nationals just 2 nights ago in game 1 of the series. So Jake Irvin, I thought for sure we would be getting a win as he was really just great for a long, long time until he was not 2 nights ago. MacKenzie Gore coming off a great start. Nick Senzel, please do not shove MacKenzie Gore this time around. That would be very nice, but also maybe shove him just once because he pitched really damn well last Friday when you did shove him. So this is going to be an intriguing game. I don't expect the Nationals to really have that easy of a time against them because, again, this Nationals offense, it gets hot, it gets quiet. You don't have CJ Abrams in today's lineup, I'm assuming at this point in time. So maybe the Nationals can find their way to kind of scrap their way around. Ildemaro Vargas in the lineup. He does get on base at a pretty decent clip, puts the ball in play, so you kind of like that. Jesse Winker's going to have to come up big. And Lane Thomas, you're going up against a right-handed pitcher, but we need you tonight, man. We need you. CJ Abrams not in the lineup. You need some power. Jesse Winker, Lane Thomas, Keibert Ruiz. I'm looking at you guys to make a difference in today's contest. So let's see if the Nationals can get the job done and ultimately get a series win and get yourself back up to 500 on the season. You'll be sitting here on June 20th, sitting at 500. What a time to be alive. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, if you haven't done so, check us out over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals and hit that subscriber button for me. Drop a thumbs up, drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the first round picks in this year's draft class because, again, the Nationals, they've got some intriguing talent sitting there at number 10. And of course, as the season goes on, as we inch closer to the MLB Draft, I'll have much more coverage for you right here on Locked On Nationals. Have a good one. Enjoy the day game. Go Nats.